Genius, get onto my show.
Just great, Ted. It's great to see you.
Guitar. Nice to see your guitar in the back. I put guitars here for texture back
You know,
here.
that's the new what is that? What's that white one called?
A lava guitar.
The lava. Tell me
Yeah,
about it.
this
Is
one.
it
Yeah, this one. It's got like a built-in amplifier, so it has like sounds that are like. It's just got this beautiful sound that comes off the. Let's see here. Yeah, it's got like you.
are there I mean, is there a speaker built into the body that shoots the
There's
sound
like
out?
yeah, there's an amp built in that has like effects and stuff like that, and then you can also plug it in to the computer, and you can like get stereo out. But just sitting is just unbelievable sound. It sounds
So
really cool.
so it's not I mean, it's not just a gimmick. It's a real like it's something you actually like to play.
It's great, yeah, and they it's this new Chinese company, so they it's like it's made out of this material that's it's
Is it
not wood,
fiberglass or
it's some kind of material, but the sound is so beautiful, and you can take it to the beach, like the sun won't warp it, and you can also take it out to Antarctica, and the
right.
freezing temperatures won't break it. So it's pretty cool. It's light. They also make a ukulele they're sending me. It is in blue and white and different colors and stuff. But it's
That's
really cool.
amazing.
And it's pretty small. And it just has, I said, the sound comes out of here, and the just to hear by yourself is really nice.
That's
It's really
incredible.
cool. So if you want, me too. You can sing all Crosby, Stills and Nash.
well, that's amazing.
It's really cool.
You'll be proud that the guitar in the background. I've been trying to learn. I started so last year. My one of my New Year's resolutions was to learn the ukulele. I have no experience with stringed instruments at all, and so I've always wanted to play the guitar or the ukulele, and I really wanted to play the guitar, but I thought the ukulele was kind of a good place to start to get my fingers working and moving chords around and
Sure.
stuff like that. And so I learned a few songs, maybe 5 songs on the ukulele.
Uh-huh.
And then I got this Yamaha at the beginning of this year. I actually got it I bought it for myself for my birthday in December. And my goal this year, one of my New Year's resolutions is to learn a few songs. And the one that I'm really focused on right now is it's by John Prine. It's actually a Blaze Foley song.
Uh-huh.
It's called Clay Pigeons, and I've learned maybe like the very first part of it. Let's see if I can play it for you now that I'm live. Ah. So I'm getting this kind of picking. I'm terrible at it. So I'm trying to do this, trying to learn this finger picking style. That's all I've got. That's all I got, Ted. I don't have anything else.
Oh, it's nice. I'm playing with you.
It's oh come on, forget it. That's crazy.
Oh, it's cool, man. That's nice. But this one you'll love. It just feels really good to play, and for taking it to work or whatever. It's got a really cool case, and the ukulele has like a see-through case, which you can go to like Lava's website. It's pretty beautiful.
Whoa. Okay. Cool.
The uke also comes in different colors and stuff. So I actually took it to a recording session yesterday for the first time.
Who
So
are you? Who are you working with? Who are you working with right now?
I was working with yesterday. I was with Orville Stober. Now Orville is the one we did all the Margaret Atwood music for one of her books, Year of the Flood.
Mm-hmm.
And so Orville, Margaret Atwood, you know, the author, The Handmaid's Tale and all that. So she had poems and Orville wrote music for it. So I produced the album with Orville and it was pretty cool. And
Is
so
that
that was
similar to the thing that I did with you a couple years ago?
no,
That's
those were sonnets that guy wrote.
right,
James Burke.
right.
So you did some. Morris Robinson did some. That was really the Grand Inquisitor,
Oh,
right?
that's
You know?
right. Yeah, I
And
forgot I set that up for you.
Gloria Loring. So that was like pretty cool. I mean, Morris, I just had him keep doing I'm Your Father, Luke. He's pretty cool. So I actually stay in touch with him and he's great, you know, just to like, he's wherever he's doing something, just to like, you know, hear him at rehearsal. He posts stuff where he messes up and he'll be like, missed the note. Oh, sorry, you know.
I love Morris. He's such a nice guy. A real light in the opera world, that's for sure. Really great guy.
Oh yeah, just that voice. I mean, him and that contrabassoon. When I came and you got me to see the show, I was like, I couldn't believe the voice and just like that sound of that in the second act when that contrabassoon comes in, and like deeper than a synthesizer. It was like boom, like that. They said there were like two guys who can play. I think so. That was pretty cool. But anyway, with Orville, we were just doing more songs, and so I've been working with him for about 20 years now.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We've done concerts with Margaret Atwood. When the book came out, we did concerts in New York. We did some at UCLA. So, you know, she blew up really big since that time. And so they signed 3 of her books to be made into a series. The first one was The Handmaid's Tale, and The Year of the Flood, which is the one we worked on, supposedly the third one. So fingers crossed.
That's terrific. So for my listeners who don't know who you are, can you give me a little primer on Ted Perlman and your history in the music business? Just a little buy sheet.
How long do we have?
So Burt Bacharach.
Burt Bacharach, Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, Joe Cocker, Celine, Elton John, just, you know, like a billion names. And also in areas like crossover to you, I said I'd work with Lalo Schifrin on stuff for the Vienna Symphony, which was Placido and Jose Carreras and Diana Ross. And I actually have a #1 classical record with the Five Browns, which is kind of, normally I'm working in pop and, you know, that kind of field, but to have a #1 classical record with those 5 piano players. Sure. I was on Dean Martin's original record, Everybody Loves Somebody Sometimes. So we got the original vocal, cleaned it up from Capitol, and then they put their pianos on. It was great. And Greg Field played drums, and it was just it was great. So to have a #1 classical record is pretty cool.
Yeah, but absolutely.
I've done stuff with everybody with Bacharach. I have a Grammy with Dr. Dre is on it, and Rufus Wainwright and Chris Bodie and the Black Eyed Peas. That's a pretty cool record. And I've just pretty much crossed all the areas. I've done jazz with the Manhattan Transfer, and I've done, classical, pop, all different fields with singers, a lot of singers, instrumentalists, and I've played guitar with lots of artists and different people. But since we last spoke, you know, I've traveled around the world. I've lived in Israel. I've played for the Queen of England. I've been to Japan, China. Since we last spoke, I've been to China 3 times, and I've met with government officials. One was as a project director they're going to build a theme park, and then the third time was most exciting. Is we're going to put on concerts and do music education. We're talking to 2 of the universities in Shanghai. They want to give me my own music school, which is my wife thinks it's egotistical to call it the Ted Perlman Music School. I was like, man, the School of Music, you know, they have different schools, but something where I can bring people like yourself in to teach people in China, and to really, the way I see learning, where learning shouldn't be something mysterious and only secretive. I think it should be open to everybody, and music should be fun and accessible. And that's my own personal concept. So people like you who agree that music shouldn't be something only for a certain select few, it would be great to have a school that teaches like that, and to show the Chinese kids how what they do is just as valid as what they do in America or England. That's my main point. Is to say
education. That's something that you've been involved with in the past as a teacher. Is that something that you see yourself? I mean, I don't. So, for instance, for me, my voice is my instrument, and I know that it's aging along with my body, and I've got maybe another 10, 15, 20 years at the most of being a really good singer. And I don't know
You're
if
a
my
great
patience,
singer.
well, thank you, but I don't know if my patience will last 15 or 20 more years. So I've been doing things for the last 5 years or so to try and make the transition into a different line of work that I like equally. Now, for an instrumentalist, I don't know. I really don't know. Do your fingers start to wear out? Do you not play as well, or is teaching just something that you're adding more vigorously to your schedule? Is that, or do you see it as a transition into a different kind of career entirely?
Well, in China, the original project, I met the people. I have two partners over there. We have a company called One World, One Family. And so one of my partners I met on my previous trip where I met with all these government officials. He works for the government in one of the cities. And so he was really excited about doing something. He kept trying to find a project to work on. Then he brought in the third partner who produces, he does soccer matches and he does big concerts. And he spends his time between Brazil and China. So they said, listen, let's put on a concert. The first concert we're going to do is Manhattan Transfer. So everything was set up and go. We had this big night, and I was going to play even 2 songs in the middle, and a big jazz singer from China, and the whole thing was there. And then COVID hit, and bip. So we got put on hold, and nobody's been in and out of China, and so it got postponed like 3 times. And they were like, "Okay, let's just wait until it's over." But they said, "How about music education in China? That's really, really big," and it kind of made me rethink my whole way to be over there. Because I mean, great, I get to produce Chinese artists and we can put on concerts, but what impact do I leave that really would stay? And I think in education, I can really use all my years of experience to teach and to just show the way I see the music business across, in any style and genre, just to be able to. And I know so many people, I said, like yourself and other teachers that could share their experiences that the kids in China maybe wouldn't interact with people like that. And people who have been in the business a lot of years in different areas, to being able to expose that people like a Gloria Loring, who's done so many different things. Imagine her teaching kids singing and performance, which is great. It's not just somebody who's got a hit record, but it's somebody who has experience, in the business. Burt Bacharach might be a little old to travel, but I would still love to be able to bring somebody like that, and
Right.
just to have them share what they've learned in all the Melissa Manchester, just people who have done it. And Melissa's father was the oboist with the New York Philharmonic, so she brings so much culture and experiences. So that was exciting to me. I mean,
Right.
I taught at UCLA a couple of semesters, record production. I've done lectures at Duke, and so the teaching thing has never been my focus because, I've written for magazines on background vocals, recording vocals, but most of my time has been spent in production and performing more in the studios. Just as I get older, though, I don't find myself, I like the way I play better. I may not have the speed, but when I was younger, I was more concerned with speed than what I was
And
playing.
the technical stuff, right?
Yeah, so the older I get, I seem to play more like a singer than a musician, which is really good, and more the people I listen to are more singers. And I find myself concerned with learning melodies of songs, where in the past, I learned all the rhythm accompaniment and I knew everything, but I never knew the melody. As long as I was with the singer, I was a hero. So now I've been doing a lot of instrumental things, and it's just, it's more of a mature kind of way of approaching things.
Right, right. I was thinking that maybe it's just a matter of life experience. I find that that applies to me as well. For me, my high notes have never been the thing that I did the best. For me, it was always musicality and line. And the older I get, the more I realize how the expression of what it is that we're doing is so much more important, at least in my stage of life. I feel like how we do things is not as important as what we're doing or why we're doing it. And I teach that since we last spoke. I've been teaching too. I have 11 private voice students I teach over at Debbie Allen's for Debbie Allen, and I've got these kids. And they're young, and they're they all have agents. They're all in movies and television, and they're all wanting to be triple threats and blah blah blah. And the hardest thing the hardest part of my job is convincing them of the reason for the reason for which we sing, or why we sing. Why do we sing? Why aren't we just saying words, and why aren't we just playing music? Why is there music and words, and what does it mean? What does it mean to humanity? What does it mean to you personally? What are we saying? Why are we saying it? That's a thing that I love about teaching, and I find, I don't know as an instrumental teacher if it's the same, and I'd like to ask you this question, but as a voice teacher, I find that 90% of my job is like psychiatrist or psychologist, and trying to figure out what it is we're trying to say and how best to say it to suit your personality. Is that the same when you're teaching or students?
Well, I know I agree with you 100%. I don't like teaching guitar. That's not, anything. I mean, my experience learning how to play was really just thrown out there and learn. I went to a teacher, they taught me how to play to where I get hired. So that concept, Ira Newborn, some other people, Ira Newborn did a lot of movie scores. We all came out from this guy, Lenny Frank, who was this genius, and his student was Ethan Fine, who played Cats on Broadway for like 20 years or something. So they taught you how to learn enough to get around the older guys. And then once you were there, it was your job to learn and ask questions. So my teachers on the job had been like Robert Friedman, who's one of the greatest vocal arrangers and music arrangers. He's got multiple Grammys. He passed away, but he started Berkeley, and he had done music for Chanticleer. He had done all their arrangements, and he was great. And he hired me with Harry Belafonte. So I learned from him on the job, was he's writing orchestra arrangements on the plane without even knowing. I said, how do you know it's gonna sound like? It'll sound great. And so him and Howard Roberts and Greg Cormier and all these great teachers, Burt Bacharach, to work with Burt 15 years and get paid is like getting paid to go to school. So those have been my teachers, and my teaching is more of music appreciation, and just basic concepts. I mean, you have a beautiful voice. You could teach me all day, and I can sing better now. I can sing in church. I was singing in the choir, and they said, your pitch is really good. So just learning how to find the place of your voice and tighten up. I loved it. It was great. So I'm a better producer from that, because at least if I sing to somebody, they have an idea. I don't have to go to the piano and play it. So it helps. But I think my experiences with so many different styles and people, I can impart more of a way to approach things, so that if you want to be a trombone player, I can just tell you, listen to everything and listen to all. You don't have to just listen to the great trombone players. You can listen to different kinds of music and find your voice. And so that, I think, is my gift that I can share, as opposed to you can play. I mean, the guys who just great guitar teachers, great guitar players, and they're better at that than I would be. But I've had such a great wide experience. I think that would be something that I could share.
Right. Yeah, I use the same approach too with my students. Like, for instance, I learned the best lesson I learned about phrasing was from Miles Davis, and the way that he phrased a line. He did it in such a beautifully vocal way, in my perception. So I understand what you're saying. I want to ask you, after all these years of knowing you, I don't know if we've ever talked about the first time you picked up a guitar. Why did you do it, and how did it go? How did you get into this whole thing? Did you come from a musical family? I know that your sister's a photographer.
Yeah.
But there are no other musicians in your immediate household.
My father has one note. He loves music. He likes the whole thing about it, but he doesn't know. Like, if I play things for him, he doesn't really know what he's listening to. He just likes it. Whereas my wife's father, who is he's a PhD, a professor back in Ohio, teaches in college, and he used to be a DJ. So when I play it for him, he listens. He's like, play it back. I love that little guitar riff there. How'd you come up with that horn part that plays there? He hears everything. He's got zillions of records. I mean, his record collection goes from 25 Jethro Tull records. He loves Bob Dylan. So he's just so eclectic in his taste. And so he can really hear. And so I love going and playing music for him. He's great. He just like, oh, when did you get that bell? Play it, go back and play it. He'll like listen really close and go back and hear things. So that's cool. It's like playing it for you or something. So, but my mom, she was a artist, and she loved arts. She was just in love with arts. They did theater, she directed, but not a musician. So my dad bought her a guitar, and so she was taking guitar lessons, and I just picked up her guitar and it was acoustic guitar, and this is 13, and Led Zeppelin, all these groups are out. So I said, well, this is too big. So I literally took a jigsaw and I cut her guitar in half, took the back and glued it back on so it was thinner. And then I took an old transistor radio. It was acoustic, and I knew electronics. So if you take the speaker can also be a microphone. You can sing into your headphones. So I took the speaker out of my old transistor radio, stuck it into her acoustic guitar, ran the wire out, plugged it into the stereo. I got an electric guitar. And it was like, this is done in a day. And it's like, they came back, it's like, you cut your mother's guitar up. And yeah, not only that, I took the guitar, then I stood on their coffee table with my boots with taps on, so I could see myself in the mirror playing the guitar, and scratched up the table, took the guitar in half. And so luckily they didn't send me to military school or anything. And so, all of us, I'm not sure exactly how far apart we are in age, but anybody that saw the Beatles when they went on at Sullivan, which the 50th anniversary was just, I think, 2 weeks ago, anybody who saw that, any kid, I was 10 in 63, and I was like, I want to do that. I'll get girls, and I'll be, I'll make a lot of money.
Popular, yeah, cool. Right.
Yeah, so if I could sing, it would have been great. I started writing songs. I just, God didn't give me a gift of voice, like you have the voce bueno, solo bueno, soto bueno. So,
but how did you start learning chords, and did you take guitar lessons? Did you take over your mom's guitar lessons? Did you just listen to music and try and copy it on the guitar? How did you learn?
I learned, the first song I learned was probably Wipeout.
Sure. That was Dick Dale? Was that Dick Dale and the Deltones? Who was that?
No, Wipeout was Safaris.
Sure.
But the thing was, it had that drum.
That's how I learned how to play the drums, as a matter of fact, was that song. Sure. Sure.
Sure. Wipeout was cool. Wipeout. Like that. But then the second one, which is everybody's first.
Sure.
Sun, right?
Sure.
So that, so I just started picking up. I had a guitar teacher that my parents got me, and he was really cool. He was really a shop teacher at school, but he came from that Lenny Frank thing, but he had studied, but he wasn't like a professional, but he knew enough to teach. And so they would teach you like 5 songs, because they figured if your parents are paying for lessons, they should see something. So he had a thing called the act. Lenny Frank came up with this. And so they gave you songs to play that you can play Dawn That Dream, and then you would learn the songs. And then the last one was Malagueña, right? If you play,
that's Is that one? Is it that one?
You would do this thing, and you would play the whole thing, and then the thing was, get your ass out of the room, right? You had no encore, And so it was funny, because I produced Trini Lopez, and he did a whole 10 minutes, Malagueña Solorosa or something, and it went on and on and on and on, but it was it's like, wow, my first teacher showed me those. So I passed him, and so I went past what he knew, and he was like, I can't teach you anymore, you need to go to somebody else. So I went to Ethan, who was Lenny Frank's student. And
so I'm sorry to interrupt. Were you just learning everything by rote at that time, or
I started picking things up. Nobody had to teach me how to play the guitar. I just started figuring it out. But because I saw there was so much music around in Long Island, where I grew up back in those days in New York. Every block you'd have a garage open, there'd be a band in there. So everybody was playing, and just the guys that I first saw, James Brown. I loved James Brown and all that R&B from down in Memphis. The Soul Man, all that.
Sure.
All that kind of stuff. All that music was there. And then there was, there was the R&B stuff. There was the pop stuff. There was just so much music on the radio, Bread, and just everywhere. The Beatles stuff, obviously, and the Rolling Stones. And then, like, on pop music radio, you would have Sugar.
Sure.
So everywhere was like that. So guitar was everywhere, and you could just pick the stuff up. So I had the ability to pick it up, but I didn't know really what I was doing. but I was, I could play, and we made a band. The first band we made was, we did all Grand Funk Railroad songs, which was, let me see, I'm your captain. Everybody. And that guy sings great. So
Sure.
We did all that stuff. We did a couple other things. So I got, I was playing, and once I decided I wanted to play music, that I just gave up everything else and just started practicing. And I would practice for like 8 hours and just keep figuring things out and working on it. And by the time I got to 12th grade, I was like, forget about school. I failed music in school because of I went in and I said, are we going to learn arranging in my music appreciation? And she totally used me as a whipping post for the rest of the class. And she said, you don't know anything. You've never studied anything. How are you going to do, arranging? How can you arrange? I went back to my teacher. He said, don't worry about it. I'll teach you arranging. And so I just kept learning and I kept asking.
Did that stick with you? Did that stick with you? Was that an injury that stuck with you, or did you just brush it off at the time? Or did you feel like you had something to prove?
No. I felt that I didn't want to. I felt that it was my mission to not be that, and to not be a frustrated musician who was teaching, and to impart that kind of arrogance on, you can't. I mean, you can't. How can you tell somebody you can't? I mean, how many, what was his name? Who wrote all those, God Bless America, The Grand Old Flag. He only played in one key. American songwriter, 1920s.
Irving Berlin.
Irving Berlin. No, Irving Berlin. Yeah, only played in one key.
That's
it. That's the one. Yeah, Irving Berlin. That's it.
Really?
Irving Berlin. He wrote all those songs, and he can only play it's in one key. So he had a thing on his piano where he could raise up a half step. It's like Little Richard. Little Richard only can play in the key of G. And I know this because my friends in Canada, he was an engineer at a studio, worked with Bachman Turner Overdrive, and they had a song they wanted Little Richard to play on. So they recorded the song in A, brought Little Richard up to Toronto. He listened, he goes, I can't play that. I only play in G. So they had to cut everything again. So some people, you'd be surprised. Bo Diddley.
Sure.
So Bo Diddley only played in G, and he put a capo on. So he couldn't do this. So he only knew the fingering for, the E. So he just put the capo there and played Hey Bo Diddley. That was his thing. That was his whole thing. So everything was in G, but he could only do one fingering stop.
That is so funny. In the education that I got, that kind of thing, I don't know, it's just looked down upon. It's like we're taught that people like that are just hacks. But then that attitude prevents so many people with proper, collegiate or conservatory educations from being not only successful, but from being fulfilled. Mm-hmm. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and that I feel like that type of education creates this sense of perfectionism that's unattainable. And then you lose out on just the joy of making music because you don't understand it well enough, or you don't think you're good enough, or you don't know how to dissect the chords and chord structures and diagrams and a counterpoint and the palette. You're just writing in parallel fifths now, blah blah blah, and it's just no good. And that's the one thing that I've found that music education can be guilty of in this country, and perhaps other countries. I'm not sure. So I'm glad to know that there are plenty of very well-known people out there that make great livings and have tons of fun and get over the fact that some people might not think they're serious musicians.
Mm-hmm. I didn't go to school. I mean, I went to high school, but I didn't go to music school at all. I didn't go to college. So for me, when I was teaching at UCLA, I said, this is so great. I didn't go to college, and I'm teaching, and that they want to give me a music school in China that would, here's a person who's self-taught and taught. I said, not self-taught, but sitting with Burt Bacharach and watching him score things. And how do you do that? And so my teachers to sit there with Lalo Schifrin, what are you doing, is pretty cool. I've had such great teachers. And so it was my responsibility to take advantage of my time with them and to learn from them. And even, sitting with you, right, with Gila Plitman and people like that who are just so, masters at their craft, and to just say, how do you do that? when you're sitting in the studio with somebody who's worked with Buddy Rich, and it's like, how did you do that? And how did this happen? And how did you make this kind of sound? And had, you know, Al Schmidt and engineers and Phil Ramone and just great people. If you ask them questions, they will, like myself, if somebody young asks me, I'll go off for 20 minutes with an explanation that's probably way past what they needed to know. But sometimes I remember things that I learned when I was 15 that now at 100 years old makes sense to me. I'll like wake up and I'll say, oh, I know what that is now. So I hope that if I'm talking to somebody, and they don't have to be a kid, they may be young in their experience. So,
Right.
you know, young in age or young experience. And so I tried to explain it so they'll understand it, not speak above them and not be arrogant about it, because the information is not mine. I'm just passing it on anyway. But
Well, that's one of the things I love the most about you, Ted, and working with you and knowing you is that you're obviously a real master at what you do, but but in a separate category, you're also so full of joy about what you do, and you're so open to sharing what you do and how you do it. And there's a real sense of fraternity in working with you that I really miss. And I don't know. I think that you're somebody that I really look up to, and feeling the way that you do about music. I really do envy that. And part of me is kind of, especially over this last year, that I haven't sung professionally since what's the date today? The 25th. Right around this time last year was the last thing I did at LA Opera as the last show. We had to cut the rest of the season short. And I've noticed that the thing that I miss the most about singing are the people, and the people in the business who are all of my friends. And I include you in that group. And I don't know. I just wanted to tell you, I really admire the enthusiasm that you have about music. And I wanted to ask you about how you've gotten through this last year. What have you done to? I mean, I know since I've seen you, you've gotten married. You also have. It seems like you're in a new place that I haven't seen before.
this has been the best year of my life, 2020. Seriously. I met my wife. We were going to Fuller Seminary. We were in the same class together. And so my wife is really interesting because she's not from the music business. And so before, when I'd meet people, it'd be like, I thought who I was who I worked with. Like you said, what'd you do? That was me, right? With her, she didn't really care about who I worked with. It was like, okay, that's nice. You know, who are you? And so that was the first time I'd ever met somebody that didn't care about my resume. They just cared about how I treated people, how I treated her, and this just whole different way of looking at things. So it really, made me think about I'm not what I do. It's who I am, and that made me. She's really had a big impact on me on how I approach people. She's a great listener, which is something that has not been on my strengths or whatever. She just can listen. She really listens, not to talk, but she listens to listen. So she's really taught me so much. And she's, I said she's younger than me, so she brings she makes me feel younger, and it's kind of like a second, chance at life. And that's, and so I met her in that, and then where I was living, didn't feel safe to me there, because I had roommates and nobody was really taking precautions, masking or anything. So she was living with this lady whose house we're in. And when the pandemic hit, I just started staying over here. We weren't married yet, but there was another room, and I started staying over here. And I was, all my work has been online, most of it, because I couldn't go to the studio. So I've been producing music for China. There's a couple of churches in China. I do music for them. And, I'll do the track, send it to them, do the vocals, send it back to me. I can record. I have software that I can record somebody like you. I can record you there as if we're in the studio together. It's in real time, and I can do the effects, stop, punch in, and whatever like that. It's called, it's totally cool from Steinberg, and it's like a virtual studio, but you're virtual connect. And so you can be singing, and there's no delay. You put your headphones on, and all you need is just like you log into a Zoom session, but we log into Nuendo or Cubase. the software session. So you're singing there, you can listen to it, I can play it back for you, compression, reverb, the whole entire bit's going right into my computer, and it's just right through as long as you have a good Wi-Fi connection. Wow. So that's great. So I've been doing work like that. I added music to stuff that was in Tokyo for somebody over there, and I've been recording and mixing a lot of stuff like online. So the internet here is really fast. So I can stay here and work around the world and work. There's a studio I've been working at out in Covina that they just started up. So I've done a lot of independent bands over there. And I said, so the pandemic, when it hit, it was like, great, I just kept working. So I've actually worked more than I was working before. So wow. I feel so guilty because people say, oh, it's been so horrible. It's like, this is the best year of my life. I got married when I thought I would never, I thought I'd be by myself the rest of my life. And I, you know, as you know, I went through this terrible divorce and all of that. So this was just like unexpected. And I know, no, I'm sorry preaching or anything like that, but I'm really grateful that sure. God gave me a second chance. And so she's a chaplain. And so she's not in the music business at all, but she deals with people. She's very compassionate. And we both had COVID back in November. From the band I was working.
How was that? I mean, was it terrible, or was it okay for you guys?
I feel guilty with that too. It was nothing. We had no symptoms. Everybody, good. I knew people who died. Trini Lopez, I was finishing his last album, all these Sinatra songs done. And he, at the end of it, he said, oh, I have to go to the hospital or something. I don't feel so good. He came home. He didn't feel good, and he was gone. 3 days. Boom.
Unreal.
And so I was working with a band, and this great band, a Brazilian singer and a Spanish rock band. And so we were in the studio, and everybody was really separated really well, 20 feet apart, mask on and everything. And the singer came in, she was coughing and sneezing. She said, I have allergies. I'm like, okay, fine, you know, no problem. Last time I saw her, she was sneezing too. So like 6 months earlier. So anyway, got my mask on, and we had done every precaution. I'm spraying everything down. We're wiping down the food we come up from Trader Joe's, 20 minutes cleaning everything. So she had to adjust the mic. So I got up without thinking about it, without the mask on, right in front of her, adjusted the microphone. And then 2 days later, she said, I got tested, I'm positive. You should go get tested. And the whole band got it. And so I came home. So some men bring their wife home flowers. I brought my wife home COVID.
So, I mean, it's like measles. It's like if anybody in the room has it, it doesn't matter how far away you are. It's so contagious. It's crazy.
Yeah, especially I walked right in front of her when she was singing to adjust the mic. So, but I said we had no symptoms and nothing. And so after 2 weeks, we were, you know, okay. And funny, the lady that we lived with in her house, she didn't get it. We were around her, she didn't get it at all. And my wife's father had it a couple of weeks ago, and his wife, you know, her mother didn't get anything. So I can't figure it out. So we're, you know, okay. And in China, I just talked to them yesterday, and they said, we probably won't be able to do any concerts, but maybe in June. They said the political climate between the two countries now has really calmed down, because our last president, he whose name shall not be mentioned, right? Really,
started a trade war. Yeah,
we couldn't even get visas for anything because the consulate, everybody from every other country around the world could get into China except the U.S. because he started the trade war, and that affected my business there. And so there was $100,000 deposit sent. It's like $1 million concert, and all of a sudden everything comes to a halt because of that. And then the pandemic hit. So my partners over there wrote me yesterday, and they said the climate is much nicer, and so hopefully around June we'll be able to start working on the music education part. I don't know when we'll get the concert thing going, but that's a good sign. So
and that's in Shanghai. The
Shanghai, yeah.
In Shanghai,
yeah. That's where we're based out of there. But previously, I'd been to like Hangzhou and different cities around the country. So it was just nice to get a feel of the country. As the first time I was there, I was meeting more with people from the government, so you're kind of insulated. And I'd go out in the daytime, but you're only seeing the head of the Communist Party in this city.
The best of the stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and we'd sit there, and then we were all about a round table with flags and everything like that. So I really was only seeing those people. I did a song. One of the government officials told me he loved Scarborough Fair. So I made an arranged instrumental version for him of Scarborough Fair, which was cool. But so the second time I got to see more people, and I met with officials in Shanghai, and they said, where in the city would you like offices to be, and they were really supportive. So it was kind of really frustrating, but COVID not only hit, COVID stopped fries. I mean, with all the thing happening,
I know,
people
it's
lost.
crazy.
Yeah, that's personal, like a person to lose a store that everything that I got came from fries. You know, any technical good, whether it's your computer, your software, your coffee pot, your air conditioner, your anything, and it's like losing a member of your family. So, you know, it's hard, but I'm glad that I can still, you know, talk to you. I'm glad you're still in my life. I talk about you all the time because you approach things here. You're an opera singer and you're not snotty, you're not arrogant, and you just love music. And the way you learn music and the way you told me that you came in from Santa Monica College and the way you went in, it wasn't something you were aiming at doing, but you know, it was like, oh, I have this voice. I didn't know I could sing. And you're like my friend Don LaFontaine, who the voiceover guy, he had done all the movie trailers in a world.
Sure.
And he told me he just at like 13 years old, his voice went from, hi, mommy, I want to go to the store. And it just dropped like that. So I love these stories of people who thought they were on one path and they suddenly ended up on another path. And they turned out to be really good at that. And it wasn't what they were starting to do. So I talk about you all the time because you're such an inspiration that it's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to be a singer now. And not only that, I'm going to be a great singer. I'm going to be one of the world's best singers. And you just have such a joy about it. And you're not, even though you do things in opera, if, you know, you love heavy metal, you love rock, you like hip hop, you like jazz, you like Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, anybody, you're just so open to music. And that's the joy and openness that I think music should be for everybody. And that's what I want to teach in school.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I've always thought that that's one of the secrets of life, is that when, I don't even want to say when opportunity knocks, because it's not opportunity. I would say when curiosity knocks, you should open the door. I think that life, that a happy life is a great combination of constancy and change. It's both of those things put together. Like you have a wife and a place and things that are solid and like a home base, but then I give myself a long enough leash to, and I'm with somebody who allows me that and is okay with me starting a pod, you know, 3 years ago, let's see, 18. So 3 years ago, I started a podcast. I'd never owned a microphone before. I'd never been a host of anything before. I didn't know anything about anything. And I'm still learning. It's not that I'm a genius at it or a master at it, but I enjoy it. And I think, you know, being open to new things, like you going to seminary, like you going from Judaism to Christianity, like you've leaving one life behind entirely, like with your first wife, and that life that you left behind in the middle of the night to get out of a bad situation, and now you find yourself in this situation, could not have happened without being open to a possibility and to you know, experience. And anyway, I don't know, I'm not going anywhere with it.
Change. That's what I love about Barack, you know, change. You know, that change for any of us in our life, no matter where we are on our life's journey, is you have to be open to that, because
it's coming, no matter what.
There's a line John Lennon said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, which is my favorite line from Mr. Holland's Opus when they said that. And it's such a great line because you have no idea what's coming tomorrow. Yeah. And if you sit there and say, well, I'm going to be, you know, look at you. First of all, you're great at a podcast because you're better looking than half the people you're interviewing, right? Which is, you know, and especially in a visual medium, because the first time I met with you was just audio, right? You know, so you have a great speaking voice, and you're a great listener, and you really, you know, you're better than half the people who have talk shows on TV, because sometimes they're just trying to make their point and they don't even let their guests even speak, you know. So you're just a great person. And I used to look at you and your wife when I first met you, and I said, man, it would be great to have that, because you have such a great relationship, and it's open and it's communication and you support each other. And so I was like, wow, that's like, you were one of the couples that I looked at and said, it would be great. I didn't think it was possible. So now I said, I have like that kind of relationship. I said, oh man, I'm like beyond happy. there's not even a word to describe how I feel.
Why didn't
You
you
know,
think it was possible? What?
because I just figured I'd failed after such a long relationship, you know, and so I said maybe I'm just not meant to be like that. You know, there's some people that are just, you know, meant to be alone. I sound like what is it, Greta Garbo? I want to be alone. But I just figured that was it. So I was like, okay. And I really took that 5-year period from 2014 to 19. I mean, I met Emily in school, and our first date was April 13th, 2019, which we celebrate literally every week.
Was it that
And
period of self-exploration that really opened you up to being available for that kind of thing? Or
I don't
what do
know
you...
if it was opening me up, but I was just working on myself. I had a lot of things to fix in myself, things
Mm-hmm.
the way I thought about, the way I dealt with people, the way I dealt with me. And so getting healthy again and just working on things that maybe come naturally to you that didn't come naturally to me. I was just so
Well,
obsessed. I was just
I've made
obsessed with
lots of
music.
terrible, terrible mistakes in my life too, and I've done the same thing, Ted. It's, you know, I just stand up straight and smile. That's my secret.
Okay, I thought music was God, you know, and whatever, you know, I mean, I know people that I have close friends who don't have, you know, don't believe in God. I have close friends that are agnostic, or kind of like in the middle. Yeah, so I mean, and I have great relationships with them because even in religion, and same thing with music, people are like, well, I know this and I know that, right? So having gone to seminary, one of the one of the best things I learned there is to not say, I went to seminary, as if I know something you don't know, and I know God, you don't know God, because I know Native Americans that believe in the spirit of everything around, which is totally okay for me, right? And so if you're open to that, I can have conversations with people who have no religious beliefs, and I can have conversations with people whose religious beliefs are so, uh, you know, intertwined with their whole life like that. And so music, I just thought music was God, and that's a bad place to be, because music is whatever you worship, whatever you are grateful for in the morning. um, you just have to realize that people are more important than something you do for your living, you
Yeah,
know, and your people relationships and your relationship with the people around. When we leave this planet, what's the most important thing is how did you make other people feel? And
that's
that,
right.
you know,
That's what Maya Angelou said, right? It's a famous quote of hers that people
it's in
don't
my answer.
remember.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, that's it. That's the most you know, to be grateful for, and to, you know, I mean, I'd gone to I went to Scientology for 2 years, right? Not that I don't want to go off of that because that's another conversation, but
Yeah, yeah.
I took these intro courses that really helped me, communication and skills and things. And so other people may have gone further and they may get into darker areas, but it was really positive for me. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Mm-hmm.
the things about talking and listening, you know, you can find those concepts that L. Ron Hubbard put in there the same way you can find in the book of James. It said, be um, quick to listen, slow to anger, slow to speak. And so those same communication things, I had no skills in. So I happened to get them from my 2 years there, or from seminary. I was literally going to seminary and Celebrity Center at the
Yeah, I
same time. So
remember. I
I'm at
remember. Yeah.
Celebrity Center with Stanley Clark, Mark Isham, Beck's father, David Campbell, Nancy Cartwright, does Bart Simpson. I'm with these very cool people. And so everybody's kind of getting something that they needed out of it. And so I know there's been a lot of things, you know, people said that it went darker or something, but for me, the level
Sure.
I was at, it really helped me communicate. So I don't think I would have been able to have the relationship I had with Emily until I had learned those things there, which were communication skills. So, you know, if you get it at school, if you get it at church, if you get it there, wherever you learn, just to realize that you need help. And if you have a need to learn something, get help. You know,
Were
whether it's
when you were little, when you were a child, were you? Was your family basically non-demonstrative? Did you not talk around the dinner table? Did you not have frank conversations about difficult things like sexuality and religion and politics and all that stuff? Is that something that didn't happen when you were a kid?
no, that was not my family, you know. But uh, Jewish family in New York, but no religion house. You know, like kind of like we're Jewish, but we don't talk about it. You know, we go to synagogue one day a year for, you know,
Sure.
Rosh Hashanah or something. And so the communication in my house was kind of like non-existent. It was like My dad was the patriarchal figure. Nobody, goes against dad. And then when I got into high school and I became very left wing and, against the Vietnam War. And I worked for Eugene McCarthy, who was like a real left wing candidate. And so we were like, the war is bad. The war's got to stop. And my father, the ex-Marine, the conversation at the table would be, the war is bad. We got to get into Vietnam. Shut up. We don't have to talk about our country. We're, like that. And it would get into fist fights. My father had no communication skills. He was a great actor, but in his personal life, his communication skills were just, he didn't know how to be a great dad. He had no training. His father was a really bad dad. And he thought just being, support the family and take care of everybody, that's it, you're a great dad. And so I kind of was afraid to discuss things because it was against his opinion. It either was like a yelling, screaming, or it could be, a violent thing or something. And so, and then with my ex-wife, it was the same kind of relationship sometimes, it was like,
well, it makes sense, right? You sought out what was comfortable for you, at least subconsciously.
Mom. Yeah. So I had no communication skill because music was had been so good to me that I could just, you can play. If you're a butthead or something, who cares? You can play the guitar. You can make me sound good in the studio. And if you're kind of like arrogant, okay, fine, that comes along with it. So I found myself after my marriage, like I'm on my own, and it's like, I can't just rely on that I could do music. I need to fix me so I'm more a complete person. Not everything was unequal, so I needed to get my personal part of me up to where my music was. Music was here, and I was kind of like, can I say dickhead on
you certainly can.
Yeah, that would be the best description. Not really bad or anything, just
unenlightened. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, narcissistic. So, people come in, I'd work with them, and they'd say, I want to do something like this. And I'd be like, well, no, I know this is better. This is best for you, blah, blah, blah. And so instead of being gentle about it, I was kind of like, nah, be quiet and do it. So a lot of times it'd be like, wow, that does sound great. And I could get away with it. And even with people like Bacharach, it's like, tell you I want to do this. Oh, this is cool. Okay, that sounds good, But every situation is different. So having better communication skills, it's like Rob Lowe in Wayne's World when the guy was saying, I want to do this with the kids. He was like, you're right, that's great. And they ended up doing what they want to do anyway.
Right.
Just how to communicate. Some people naturally have that, and some people need to learn it. So
did you ever reconcile the relationship with your father, and how did you get through the Trump years? If he's a right-wing ex-Marine who stomps his... So
communication, what I learned at Celebrity Center is find a common thread that you can talk about, that and so they had a course called The Problems at Work. And so it was like, look at your boss, it's like you see a picture of him playing golf, now you have a way to communicate with him, find something like that. So my dad, nobody in the family was talking to him because he was supporting Donald Trump, and everybody in the family hated Donald Trump. So I started finding a way. I'd worked for Donald Trump back in '88, so I had a place to start. And so I just found things about Donald Trump that might be positive, although
slim pickings.
My wife would throw things, and just like throw up right now because she didn't find anything good. But I said, well, the economy's doing really good, and this and that, and people are like, oh no, so at least I had some kind of common ground. And my father and I's relationship is really great now. It wasn't before. I just had to learn to communicate with him and try. Because nobody's going to win. Just how can I be a good son for him? And he's 93, 92 now. So, he's not going to change the way he approaches things. And so it was more me. Once I worked on me, I was able to communicate with him and to not do like that kind of thing. So my father's good practice into dealing with people at work or anything like that. If you practice on him and you can deal with him, and he loves Emily. I mean, he's just, in love with Emily. It really made him softer. He never thought after being married. He was at the wedding. He came to the wedding. It
must be nice for him, right? It must be nice for you to feel like your father is happy and proud of the place you are in life, which may not have come otherwise. Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. I mean, at this point in my life, he just was so surprised. He used to call me up every week, and he'd say, "Are you seeing anybody?" And I'd say, "No, Dad, leave me alone. I'm 60 years old, whatever. I'm not gonna see anybody." no, 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 you're a young man, 25 years younger than him. So I said, no, stop asking me that every week. Are you seeing somebody? So when I met Emily, I called him up and said, ask me the question. I said, what question? This question you ask me every week. Are you seeing somebody? Are you seeing? Yes. I was like, yeah, I met somebody wonderful. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I never expected that. And so our wedding, in the middle of COVID, we got married in September of 2020, right? I mean, right in the middle of, everything was.
Yeah, the resurgence, right.
Mm-hmm. So we had this place that held 250 people back in Akron, Ohio. And we only had 40 people there. So my dad came, and it was great. He came up there. He said, I don't care. I'm coming anyway. And everybody was masked and separated, but still, it was just wonderful. And even Emily loves hot air balloons. So she got a lady to come open up a hot air balloon. The place was huge. It was just huge area and just beautiful. So it was a great wedding. And just my friend who's a pastor came in from Washington, and I played Natural Woman. I played Natural Woman to her, and then everybody in the place sang together on that. And even though it's not singing the word, she doesn't make me feel like a natural woman, but Natural Woman, it was such a great song that we loved. So like you and your wife sang when we did that wedding in
for her brother. Great. Yeah, for her brother.
We sang the Ed Sheeran song. That was great. So I said I want to be just like you.
Well, I feel the same way, Ted. Maybe that's why we became such fast friends.
And Emily can't sing. We sing all the time, and neither one of us could sing, so it's great. We sing notes together that don't. It's like the notes are not even the same note, but we just sing. It's beautiful.
It seems like you guys, was it love at first sight? It seemed like a pretty fast thing, a pretty precipitous marriage.
Yeah, we went out. I said, she came up to me in class, and she walked over and said, hi, held my hand, said, hi, I'm Emily. And my hand was lit up with lights and stuff. And I was like, what? And I said, I was terrified because I thought she was 27, right? So, at that point I was 65, and, I was like, oh my God, she's 27 years old. She's so cute, but who is it? And then I asked her out, and we went out to a first date. And on our first date, my communication skills are so good that I basically tell her everything in my entire life. In this one period, she's listening like that. And I said, I told everything. And then she says, how old are you? And I said, you're not going to go out with me anymore if I tell you how old I am. She says, no, go ahead and tell me. I said, well, I'm 65. And so she turned out to be 41 at the time. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I said, okay, because, still 25 years, but literally, and I'd started out the conversation saying, I'm never going to get married again. And that was it. At the end of the night, I asked her to marry me on the first date, literally. And we never stopped seeing each other. I saw her every day after that until now.
Really?
Really, seriously. Went out again the second night. I asked her to marry me 5 times until she finally said yes. Later on, we were going out for over a year before we got married, but I knew I said, this is the one that I should have. I told her, I wish I met you when I was 40, but that would have meant that, or 40 when I was 20. That means I would have, 20, 30. 30, I would have showed up at a house. She would be 5 years old, right? It's like, I am here to pick up Emily. And I'll follow you. Who are you, Oh, Emily and I saw it in a vision. We're going to be in love with her again, And it's like there's a father gets his gun and shoots me off the front porch. So things happen when they're supposed to happen. And so even though I said, she says, I wouldn't have liked you before. So, I said,
it's timing,
who I am
right?
now,
It's timing.
It's timing and who I am. So, even on this conversation, so I was talking to her about, what do you think that I should talk about? Because normally I would just talk about, I work with this one. I have a list of a zillion.
Oh, you mean
people.
about today? You mean about today,
Yeah,
about our
today.
conversation? Yeah.
Yeah. So what do I want to people to remember? And so I could list, I was like, I got Calabro. I got, that British group who won Britain's Got Talent were in my studio. Great singers. You would love them. There's 5 guys, and I had like all these people. But she said, speak from your heart and talk about who you're becoming, not your resume. And so that was, what I was really trying to do, because, lots of people have resumes, and I'm blessed that I've worked with all these great people, but the people that I have a relationship with, like yourself, are more important. You're a better person than I can list a big name artist who's got You just won the Pulitzer Prize and all that stuff like that. But as a person, you supersede him as a person because of the way you make other people feel.
Oh,
And
thanks,
so,
Ted.
so that's
You
the
get me
kind
all
of,
choked up over here.
no, because
Really, really sweet.
that's what's important. You know, you have a zillion people, famous people you've worked with in movies and all of that. But is that who, you know, Omar is? No. Omar
Right.
Crook is a man who makes people that are around him feel really good. You know,
Oh,
so
thanks,
I
Ted.
thank you for that.
Thanks,
You're
brother.
one of my inspirations.
Well, we belong to the mutual admiration club, friend, because I feel the same way. I'm so pleased about having you again on the show. I
Thank
can't
you.
thank you enough for joining me. And before we go, I want to ask you what you have coming up. What do you want? Is there anything you want to plug? Let's get to some business. What have you got going?
Let me see.
We plugged the
Well,
guitar, the Luna guitar.
okay, well, so Gloria Loring, who I produced her album, and we
Right.
worked on
This is Robin Thicke's mother. Yeah.
yeah. So we started working on it in 2010, and it was stretched out because we weren't working all the time. Kind of like what we started doing with Gila, we were
Right.
working on it here and there. So we finally kicked it up a notch, and we finished the album, and it's great. Robin wrote one of the songs, and he's singing on one of the songs. He sounds great, and Gloria, she taught him to sing, so that's why Robin is so great. Gloria's a great singer. So that album is finished, and on March 5th, she's going to be on KTLA, and we're going to do a live performance of the Burt Bacharach Tony O'Kay song. She's going to sing that. So that's pretty exciting. And the record's great. I'm just happy that it's out. I wrote one of the songs with her, a song about Rise, kind of like Maya Angelou. That one is there. They said I have a couple of independent rock bands that are out that I've worked with. One called the weirdest name, Mary Carves the Chicken.
Oh,
right?
sure. That's Page's band. Yeah.
Page's group, who actually Page is the one who introduced me to you.
Yeah.
So we finished their record. It sounds great. California Ride, I think it's called.
Terrific.
And so, so I've, after fighting with Page for years about the name of their band, they have Third Eye Blind and this one and all kind of stuff. So Foo Fighters, whatever. I said, keep the name, whatever. So the record came out great. Page sounded great. And I made those guys sound really great. They've been around for a long time.
Sure.
They were so happy that they bought me, it's not here, an SG Gibson guitar. They gave me this expensive guitar as a gift for my birthday. And like, wow, because I think I got the sound that they'd been trying to get for all those years. So I really was happy that I could have their vision in their head come out in the recorded work. They're great. I did some other things for, let me see. I'm in a book. It's by Thornton Klein, and the book is this hit songwriter book. And it's Burt Bacharach. I brought in Tom Snow, Diane Warren, all these different people did interviews in there. So they did an interview on me where I talked about a lot of the things we're talking about. I've been fortunate enough to work with these great songwriters, Jerry Goffin, Carole King, and so Brian Wilson. So what was my experience working with all of them? What common thread tied them together? How insecure Bob Dylan could be when you think he'd have no insecurities.
Sure. Is that out on Amazon, or where do you get that? Has it been published already?
Yeah, I think it's on Amazon. Yeah, it's called Hit Songwriter. Thornton kill me. It's a hit songwriter. Hit songwriter would be the Google point at the search the tag. I think it's hit songwriter. Here, I'll give it to you. Thank you for Google. Hit songwriter. I wish I could type. Hit songwriter. And sometimes you type Thornton Klein here. Thornton Klein. He's got a lot of children's books, and Profile of a Hit Songwriter by Lacey Carpenter, Thornton Klein. It looks like that.
Terrific.
And anyway, it's out. It's on Center Stream, but there's the people in it are really, really cool. And it's talking. We did a seminar at NAMM on this. The panel was there, and the people. It's just a great book, and they featured me in there, including the other people, which is cool. That was really cool. Some of the I got a couple of independent bands at the Volti Cabaret, which were all kind of shut down because of COVID.
Sure.
I'm starting a project with one of the girls from Wanda D from the KLF, and Wanda D is She was the first female DJ. She goes all the way back to the Bronx with Africa Bambaataa, and she's awesome. She's a performer, so she performs for hundreds of thousands of people around the world. So we're starting on some other songs with her in a few weeks. They're coming in. So I just,
Yeah, you're staying busy.
Just keep staying busy. I said, my church group's over in China, still working on, and they, it's just hard for them. I don't want to mention the name because the Chinese government stopped certain groups from broadcasting different things like that. So,
sure.
My relationship with the people in China is really good, but some of the people religious wise have had some issues with the government. So,
sure.
I tried to just keep a good relationship with everybody. Trini Lopez's record came out great, and unfortunately at the end of it he passed away, but it was the best record he ever made. The vocals are great. He did one, All or Nothing at All. He did it like a ballad, and he just killed it on the first one. Great. And
what
he
a
was
tragedy,
just,
right?
like
what a
singing
tragedy.
Yeah, and I said his story is so amazing. Frank Sinatra found him, and he became like the biggest selling Latin artist ever. The Beatles were his opening act, right? He even turned down the Rolling Stones for his opening act because he thought they were too scruffy because he always dressed nice. And he is a guy, it's funny because he was a Republican, and but his family came from Mexico, right? And they were migrant workers who came illegally across the border, and he grew up as a kid picking peaches as far away as Arkansas. So you would think that he would be more, sympathetic to the, undocumented workers who came here. But he made it, and he supported his family. He bought his parents' houses and stuff, and he became huge. I mean, just like one of the biggest stars in the world, friends with Princess Grace, and there's pictures of Trini with every president you could imagine. So he's a real from nothing to rags to riches story. And so it's just great for all the DACA people that are out there. Look, I really wanted, and so the record's done. So I started contacting people. I contacted Dave Grohl's manager because Dave Grohl plays the Trini Lopez guitar. And he always they all wrote the nice things about Trini when he died. And so those guitars were worth like $400,000, the original ones. So I wanted to bring guests onto the album and to make it, so Dave Grohl's manager said, what's the purpose of it? I said, I think Trini's story is really important for people to know that you can come here. If you came here legally, if that's the way you could get here, fine. And then his parents became citizens. But if you put a wall up, right, they wouldn't have been able to come in here to the country, Right. So that, I think the story of Trini's life is not the multiple Rolls Royces and the famous women they knew, Marilyn Monroe and Bridget Bardot and Natalie Wood. The story is that his family came here with nothing illegally, and they became legal after, and then Trini became this huge star.
It's literally he's the paradigm of the American dream. That really is the American dream.
Yeah, that's what resonates with me. And
what's legal and illegal is just a piece of paper. I mean, people coming at the turn of the century came the same way that it's now illegal. It used to be legal, and then it became illegal. But the people who are coming are of the same quality and of the same ambition and of the same, they all have the same dream. And that's what the American dream is. I totally
that's
agree.
It. You're a son of immigrants, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my father's Mexican, and so I lived in Mexico when my parents divorced. We were living in Ensenada. They, to be fair, that side of my family was really wealthy, so they just bought paperwork, for lack of a better term.
It doesn't fit the paradigm. Wait, we need a new story.
Yeah, that's not part of that story. But I mean, you look at somebody like Steve Jobs, right? I think he came from Syria or something, and he, started Apple. And people who used to be coming here legally are now doing exactly the same thing that they would have done then, but now that's illegal because the process of becoming a citizen is so much more protracted and so much more difficult. And so at that, I don't care. That's a whole nother conversation. So I
think that's important because when we talk about music or anything like that, it's all part of this American dream. I mean, it's a worldwide musical thing, but there's so many opportunities. Lalo Schifrin came from Argentina, and my grandfather came from Russia. And so I'd worked with, some of the stories are sad because I worked with a singer named Shusha Palevin. and she was a big singer in Iran. And when Khomeini came in, they who were wealthy had to leave the country, and they left everything. And they came,
Right.
they got to London, they didn't have a dime, nothing like that. So, but they got to America, and they were able to start from kind of like what I did when I left my situation. I had nothing. I literally left with nothing, not a penny. So you rebuild your life up like that. So coming to America, it gives you the opportunity to, if you come in with money, all the better, you know. But even if you're an immigrant with money, they won't even respect you if you're from certain groups, whatever. You know, you have anti-Muslim things like that. You know, you could have all the money in the world, and will you be accepted at the country clubs and all the places you want to be? Saban, Chaim Saban was an Egyptian, I think, Jew who came to America, and he ended up with nothing, and ended up Saban, who had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're one of the biggest owners of animation and things like they're the biggest Disney, Saban. So, you know, you can come here however you get here. My grandfather couldn't walk across the border because Russia, you had to take a boat to come here. But if you're in Mexico and you know, the opportunities here, you know, you do look at the Haitians come across on the boat to get to here. So
yeah, who are you going to hire? I mean, I'm going to hire somebody who's willing to risk the life of their 18-month-old baby girl on a boat and they can't swim to get here over somebody who's just born here by accident and you know, I don't understand the whole idea of this bashing immigrants. These people risk life and limb to come and contribute to our society. And this idea that they come to mooch off of things, you can't mooch off of anything without a social security number. You can't, there's no, you know, they pay taxes like we all do. They pay taxes through rent. They pay taxes through whatever they buy and income, you know. It's a big red herring. There's so many other terrible things that we need to fix. And this immigration thing is just a way to waste time and take away from the real issues that we're all facing, which take generations to fix, and nobody can get elected based on a plan that's going to take 30 years to enforce. You know, it's anyway. That's like I said.
My wife has really changed my political views, and back to where I was. You know, I kind of had gone to the right because it was like I'm working, so you know I feel good about that. So she really made me rethink and just revisit and relearn where I was when I was 18 years old, which was much more sympathetic to people and to things and to not just myself. So
well, sure. I mean, if all Christians learned about Jesus, I think it would be a better place.
If you know, if people we can talk about that one, but people follow Jesus who don't follow Jesus. You know,
that's right.
They don't follow Jesus.
It's Republican Jesus, not old school Jesus.
Oh my God, yeah. You know, but I said when I first started learning the Bible, I said, you know, even if you didn't. If you weren't a Christian, you could still follow the things that Jesus said. You'd have a good life. You know,
I'm a Christian that way. I'm absolutely a Christian that way.
Yeah. Do you
I'm
love
not
your
religious.
fellow man?
That's right.
Yeah. Be good to love your neighbor. Be kind. Don't rewind. I'm going back to Blockbuster. Rewind. Be kind, but just be good to people.
Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Yeah. So that basic premise pervades all the world's religions, and if you just follow that, however, you know, how you live your life and how you worship, it's almost, sometimes you can tie it together, but some people use it as a separator like that. So in the same way in music, I don't think just because you went to music school, that gives you a right to be arrogant and to disrespect other musicians who didn't learn like that. They learned on their own. And the same way, just because you went to seminary or, you know, you've been a Christian your whole life doesn't mean you can tell somebody else that they don't understand how to be a good person.
Yeah, or they're going to go to hell if you don't believe what they believe. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. So music ties all of us together, and you should also be open to other people and to accepting of others, because nobody's got the right to say I'm right in music, in religion, in life.
I love you, brother.
And you can thank Emily. one of my greatest teachers.
Well, it's always just great to see you, Ted. I'm so thrilled to spend time with you. I know it's been a long conversation. I don't care. I'm just thrilled to catch up with you. And let's please do this sooner than later. Okay?
Oh, well, I'm just happy. I want to hear how you do on your guitar. I said, I get my second shot on Friday. So not only have I had COVID antibodies, and so I've been vaccinated, which makes me doubly cool. So
Right.
we can do virtual guitar lessons or something like that.
Oh, that's so
But
sweet. And maybe we can do a quid pro quo. I can give you a couple of voice lessons in exchange.
I have frustrated more people. No, actually, I'm okay now because I had one lady from Adam Sandler showed me how to lie down on the floor and do that. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'll do it with my wife, but I'm not lying down on the floor. So
yeah, I do that with all my students. Yeah.
No, really?
You put books on your belly and you feel the low breath. Oh, it's a whole bunch of stuff, man. You have to learn how to breathe like a baby. That's it.
I sing all the time, and I like there's some people I like singing with, and just singing along with them.
Sure.
I like that,
Sure.
So it's cool. But then when I said sitting next to somebody like you, it's like it's too intimidating to sing along with you.
Well, I mean, that may be the only thing I have over you, Ted. Every other aspect of music,
you got your hair
music,
too.
music making, music production. I mean, you've got it in spades. So, are you going to look like Heisenberg? You're going to put your Heisenberg hat on now?
Yeah, like that. My chapeau, right? My chapeau. But I said I'm just happy that you're in my life, and I'm happy to have somebody like yourself in my circle of friends. And
I feel the same way, Ted. Thank you. Thanks. And thanks for being on the show. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care.
All right, brother. All right. You too.
Bye.
Genius, it takes a lot to get on my show. Genius, you're probably someone we'd like to know. You're really good at stuff, you probably like to dance. You like long walks and you wear clean pants. Genius, get onto my show.